America invaded Iraq. It invaded Afghanistan. It destroyed Libya. It bombed Syria. But Iran's, not once, not a single boot on Iranian soil. America has 800 military bases around the world. Its navy controls every ocean. Its air force can strike anywhere on Earth within hours. And yet Iran stands, untouched, unconquered. Why? Is it a deal? Is it fear? Or is Iran simply uninvadable? Today we find out. Before we talk about weapons and armies, let's talk about the land itself. Because Iran's greatest defense isn't a missile. It's the map. Iran is not a small country. It is the 17th largest nation on Earth. 636,000 square miles of territory. Bigger than the entire United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Spain combined. Now imagine trying to invade that. In the north, the Alborz Mountains. Peaks that reach over 18,000 feet. Roads that disappear in winter. Passes that armies have struggled through for centuries. In the east, the Dashti Kavir, one of the world's most inhospitable deserts. Salt flats that crack under vehicles. Temperatures that hit 70 degrees Celsius. No water, no roads, no mercy. In the west, the Zagros Mountains. A wall of stone stretching over 1,500 kilometers. Every valley a choke point. Every ridge a defensive position. And in the south, the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Shallow waters, narrow straits, and a coastline Iran knows how to use. Here's something most people don't know. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage through which 20% of the world's oil flows, is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Iran controls one side. Any invading fleet would have to pass through those 21 miles. Under Iranian guns. Under Iranian missiles. Under Iranian drones. That's not a waterway. That's a trap. Let's say you get past the mountains. Let's say you survive the desert. Let's say your fleet makes it through the strait. Now you face the Iranian military. And it is not what most people imagine. Iran has approximately 610,000 active military personnel. That's larger than the British Army, the French Army, and the German Army put together. But the numbers aren't even the main point. It's the structure. Iran doesn't have one military. It has two. The regular Iranian army, the Artesh. Professional soldiers, conventional warfare, tanks, artillery, air defense. And then the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. A force that answers only to the supreme leader. A force with its own army, its own navy, its own air force, and its own intelligence service. The IRGC has been fighting for over 40 years. It fought in the Iran-Iraq War. It fought in Syria. It backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. It trained the Houthis in Yemen. It has operatives in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Latin America. This is not a ceremonial guard. This is a battle-hardened organization that has spent 4 decades learning how to fight larger, better-equipped enemies. And winning. Now here's where the story gets even more important. Because America has already tried this. Not in Iran, but in countries very similar to Iran. Iraq, Afghanistan. In Iraq, the American military destroyed Saddam Hussein's army in 21 days. 21 days. The fastest, most decisive conventional victory in modern history. And then, 8 more years of war. 4,500 American soldiers dead. Over 100,000 Iraqi civilians killed. And a country left in chaos. In Afghanistan, 20 years. The longest war in American history. And it ended with the Taliban back in power. Exactly where they started. Now ask yourself, if Iraq and Afghanistan cost this much, what would Iran cost? Iran has 3 times the population of Iraq. Iran has 4 times the landmass of Afghanistan. Iran has mountains, deserts, and 80 million people who have been told since 1979 that America is their enemy. American military planners know this. They've war-gamed it. They've studied the maps. They've read the casualty estimates. And those estimates are staggering. In 2002, the U.S. military ran one of the largest war simulations in history, called Millennium Challenge 2002. The exercise was designed to simulate a war in the Persian Gulf against a country resembling Iran. The enemy commander, a retired U.S. Marine general, used unconventional tactics. Swarm attacks, small boats, decoys. In the first 2 days of the simulated conflict, the enemy sank 16 American warships, including an aircraft carrier. If this had been real, over 20,000 American sailors would have been dead. In 48 hours, the simulation was restarted. The rules were changed so America would win. But the lesson was written. An Iranian-style war in the Persian Gulf is not a quick victory. It is a catastrophe. Geography, military strength, the memory of Iraq and Afghanistan. But there is a third layer of Iran's defense. Perhaps the most dangerous one of all. Iran does not just defend itself at its own borders. Iran defends itself everywhere. Over the past 4 decades, Iran has built the most sophisticated proxy network in the Middle East. Hezbollah in Lebanon, over 150,000 rockets aimed at Israel. The Houthis in Yemen, who have attacked Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and commercial shipping across the Red Sea. Shia militias in Iraq, who have attacked American bases dozens of times. Hamas in Gaza, armed, funded, and trained in part by Iran. Allies in Syria, who gave Iran a land corridor all the way to the Mediterranean. This is Iran's insurance policy. If anyone attacks Iran, the war doesn't stay in Iran. It spreads. Hezbollah opens a front in Lebanon. Iraq becomes a battlefield. The Strait of Hormuz closes. Oil prices spike across the world. Global economies tremble. This is called the Ring of Fire strategy. And it works because no world power wants to start a war that sets the entire Middle East on fire. And then there is the shadow that hangs over everything. The question that no one asks out loud, but everyone in every capital city thinks about. Does Iran have a nuclear weapon? Officially, no. Iran has always said its nuclear program is peaceful. For energy, for medicine, for science. But the facts tell a different story. Iran has enriched uranium to 60% purity. Weapons grade requires 90%. They are not far. In 2023, the IAEA reported that Iran had enough enriched uranium, if further processed, to build multiple nuclear devices. Multiple. Not one. Multiple. Western intelligence agencies have estimated that if Iran decided today to build a nuclear weapon, the breakout time, the time it would take to assemble a functional device, could be as little as 12 days. 12 days. Not months, not years. 12 days. This changes everything. Because any country planning an invasion of Iran must answer one question. What happens if, somewhere in the Zagros Mountains, in a tunnel 300 meters underground, Iran has already crossed that final line? What happens if the invasion triggers the one thing it was meant to prevent? No military planner on Earth is comfortable with that question. And that discomfort, that uncertainty, is itself a wall. So let's add it all up. To invade Iran, you face mountains that swallow armies, deserts that break supply lines, 610,000 soldiers ready to fight to the last, a revolutionary guard that has been preparing for this war for 40 years, a proxy network that will ignite conflicts across 5 countries simultaneously, a Strait of Hormuz that could close and crash the global economy, and a nuclear program that may already be one decision away from a weapon. And what do you gain? A country of 80 million people, most of whom will become insurgents the moment you arrive. Cities that will have to be taken street by street. A resistance that will last not years, but decades. America spent $2 trillion in Afghanistan. $2 trillion. And left with nothing. Iran would cost 10 times that. At minimums. This is why Iran has not been invaded. Not because the world loves Iran. Not because of diplomacy or treaties. Not because of mercy. Because the math doesn't work. Because the cost is too high. The risk is too great. And the reward, whatever it might be, is simply not worth it. But there is something deeper here. Something that goes beyond Iran. This story is actually about something that every nation, powerful or weak, must understand. True security is not just about having the biggest army. It is about making the cost of attacking you too high to bear. Iran understood this. It built its defenses in layers. Geographic military, strategic nuclear. It made itself not just difficult to defeat. It made itself impossible to afford to defeat. And in doing so, it achieved something that far larger nations have failed to achieve. It survived, surrounded by enemies, isolated by sanctions, targeted by cyber attacks, struck by assassinations, and yet Iran stands. Whether you admire it or condemn it, the lesson is the same. Geography is a weapon, patience is a strategy, and uncertainty is the most powerful deterrent of all. Iran has never been invaded in the modern era. Not because it is loved, not because it is forgiven, but because the world looked at the cost and blinked. If this story moved you, you are watching war and military history, where every conflict has a cause, every border has a cost, and every war leaves something behind. Subscribe and stay with us, because history is never truly over.